from a defensive perspective. They've had a lot of athletic players, including Trayvon Walker, number 1 overall pick, but were not able to put it together for the whole season last year. It was an okay defense. It looks like a similar squad this year. But the question I think for me is going to be the pass rush. We've talked about that a little bit on the show here. Josh Allen continues to get better and establish himself as a good, not great pass rusher, but a good pass rusher. Who's going to be the guy opposite him? Kayvon Chason as a former first-round pick hasn't been great. Trayvon Walker was not great as a rookie, and we expected that, right? There's some growing to do. Can he take a step forward? Remember, Rashawn Gary took about a year and a half, kind of like Lawrence. Took about a year and a half for Rashawn Gary to go from athletic project to impact pass rusher. And so that might be what you're looking for from Trayvon Walker here. It still might be a few games. He looks the same. Can hit the switch flip for Trayvon Walker this year, because I think they need it up front. They don't have the best defensive tackles. They don't have the best interior pass rush. The Jags need to be able to get pressure. And it looks like just Josh Allen and friends right now.
What do you expect from Walker this year?
I thought last year he was pretty good against the run. He's the dude, like, beats up tight ends if you align him over a tight end. He's not a good pass rusher yet. And we're looking at pass rushing from, can you win? Are you winning often enough? There were signs, right? He's long, he's athletic. You have to develop your whole move set. He's just not there yet. And when we always talked around draft time, the pushback is always, well, he'll learn, and he's never had to do it at Georgia. And it's like, yes, that's part of the risk. Part of the risk is not that you can never do it. It's when you've never been asked to really rush the passer and get after the quarterback 300-400 times a year. There's a development process. So he's in the middle of this development process. And if that's going to take time as part of your rookie contract, that's inherently risky. It's not a good enough excuse to say he wasn't asked to do that, because other guys like Aiden Hutchinson were asked to do it and did it well. So that's why that's a better play. So, yeah, I think, look, if Walker ever figures it out, I'm not going to be that surprised, because Daniel Hunters of the world, Rashawn Garys of the world have done it. But I still think it's a low percentage possibility, because we haven't seen him do it yet. So it's a challenge.
Yeah, I feel like also he's further behind than Rashawn Gary was coming out. Like Gary was kind of overhyped because of his athleticism. Not even overhyped. He was hyped because of his athleticism, and that was the focus, right? Is that he can become this amazing pass rusher because of this elite size and athleticism, and he eventually did. But he was so much further behind his athleticism in terms of production that we were like, well, let's tap the brakes. Maybe he's just not that great. And then he developed and became that guy. But he was much more productive in college than Trayvon Walker was, even despite the athleticism. Now, Walker is a better athlete than Gary, so I don't know how much to weigh each one of those things. But it might take a while for Walker. I'm not really expecting that much from him this year.
Yeah, so the other guys that they need to step up, Devin Lloyd, their other first-rounder last year, there was some good, but it ended up being a below-average season for him last year. Darius Williams has played pretty solid for them at corner on the outside. Tyson Campbell had a breakout season last year at corner, so they need those are all. Darius Williams isn't young, but Campbell's still young. They're relying on a lot of young players here on the defense. Intriguing young players who have done it, got to do it again. If they're an average defense, I think they're in the playoffs and, competing. I think if they can become a top 10 defense by EPA per play or whatever metric you want to use, if they're a top 10 defense, then and Trevor Lawrence becomes the star and remains the star, then you're talking about competing with the best teams in the AFC.
Yeah, they have, I think, more component pieces than they typically do, but it feels like the same story every year for Jacksonville, which is they need 2 or 3 players, like talented, former first rounders in a lot of cases. They need 2 or 3 of those guys to take a big step forward. Otherwise, they're going to have problems. Like Trayvon Walker, Devin Lloyd, Tyson Campbell took a huge step forward last year. He looks legit. If they can keep Darius Williams on the outside and playing really well where he typically does, that's a really nice cornerback tandem. Their safeties are good, but they need like 1 or 2 of those guys to really step up, because Josh Allen is a good player, but he needs help. Aloakun is pretty good at linebacker, but he spent his entire season last year basically getting Devin Lloyd lined up, or when it wasn't Devin Lloyd, Chad Muma was there trying to help him out. Like, he needs somebody at the linebacking group to help them as well. They just need one or two of those guys to really improve and justify the draft spot.
All right, the over-under for the Jags is 9.5.
So
How much are you buying into the Jags? Are they a 10-win team in a 17-game schedule?
I mean, I'm buying in. I think that they are the rightful favorite for that division. So the rightful favorite for division should be winning 10 games. Let's give it to them over.